When the plane touched down at JFK Airport, I glanced at my watch. It was 3:20 in the morning. I was supposed to be at the closing gala of Paris Fashion Week, but instead I had slipped back home to New York. "Ma'am, are we going straight to the estate?" asked Miguel, my chauffeur, as he discreetly took my suitcase. I gave a quick nod, pulling my Hermes silk scarf up to cover the lower half of my face. I had cut my trip short by 3 days. There was no special reason, just the casual voice of my husband, Alex, on the phone yesterday. "Have fun. No need to rush back." His words had set off an alarm in my head. 5 years of marriage. I knew my husband too well. The more considerate and generous he seemed, the more certain I was that something was wrong. The sky was just beginning to lighten as the black Mercedes entered the exclusive gated community of the Hamptons. I motioned for Miguel to stop at the entrance and pulled the suitcase myself, dragging it toward the house. I wanted to give Alex a little surprise. The door opened silently with my fingerprint. I slipped off my Jimmy Choo heels and held them in my hand, walking barefoot on the cold marble floor. A shiver ran from my feet all the way up my spine. The master bedroom was empty, the bed perfectly made, as if no one had slept in it. Frowning, I pulled out my phone and checked the home security camera system. Alex had left at 10 o'clock the previous night and hadn't returned. Just as I was about to call him, I heard a murmur of voices from the second floor. I froze. Holding my breath, I crept up the stairs, moving toward the sound. It was coming from the room at the end of the hall, the room we had set aside for a future baby. After 5 years, it was still empty. Now the door was ajar, a sliver of light escaping from the crack. "My brother said this room gets the most sunlight, and he insisted that I give it to you, Valerie." It was the voice of my sister-in-law, Lucy. Her tone was sickeningly sweet, repulsive. "Really? A place as special as this? I'm not sure I deserve it," a fragile female voice replied, her feigned shyness evident. "Of course you do. It's my brother's good fortune to be with someone so young and beautiful, and it's your good fortune, too." Lucy's laugh was like a dagger in my heart. "Come, look at the walk-in closet. Alex had all of this custom-made for you. Do you like Hermes, Chanel?" I clenched my fists so tightly that my nails dug into my palms. I pushed the door open a little further. The scene that unfolded before me sent a chill down my spine. Lucy was affectionately hugging a girl who couldn't have been more than 20, showing her a closet overflowing with designer goods. The shirt the girl was wearing, to my shock, was a Givenchy that Alex had told me he'd lost last month. A pounding began in my temples, and my ears hummed, but I forced myself to stay calm. With trembling hands, I took out my phone, put it on silent, and started recording. "Lucy, what if your sister-in-law suddenly comes back?" the girl, Valerie, asked, biting her lip. Her eyes, however, gleamed with greed. "Ha! That barren hen!" Lucy scoffed. "What right does she have to be in this family? She's just a walking ATM. Don't worry, she's in Paris right now spending money. And even if she came back, do you think she doesn't know who runs this household?" I bit my lower lip until I tasted blood. For 5 years, I had loved Lucy like a sister. When she graduated, I pulled every string I had to get her a 6-figure job at the East Coast Group. For her wedding, I gifted her a condo and a car. "And now," Lucy continued in a triumphant voice, "if it weren't for the money from the Blackwood Group, do you think my brother would have ever looked at her? Always acting like some stuck-up cultured heiress. It's insufferable. But you're different, Valerie. Young, beautiful, sweet. My brother says that as soon as you get pregnant, he's going to divorce her." Everything went black. If I hadn't leaned against the wall, I would have collapsed. Alex Vargas. What a piece of work you were. And me, Sophia Blackwood. How blind I had been. Just as I was about to burst into the room, my phone vibrated. I quickly retreated to a corner of the hallway. The screen showed Dad. I took a deep breath and answered. "Sophia, where are you?" My father's voice was unusually serious. "At home, Dad," I whispered. "Good." He paused. "We've detected some abnormal capital flow at Vargas Construction lately. Alex is diverting large sums of money from the company to overseas accounts. Keep an eye on him." I gave a bitter smile as I looked at the half-open door. "Dad, I don't think we'll need to anymore." I hung up, and after one last look at the room, I left the house as quietly as I had entered. Once in the car, an uncontrollable tremor took over my body. Miguel looked at me in the rearview mirror, his face full of concern. "Ma'am, you look pale." "To the office, please," I said, clenching my jaw. I took out a mirror from my purse and touched up my pale face. "And please, call the branch manager of my bank. I need to urgently freeze several cards." 6 black cards, all issued with the Blackwood Group's credit limit, the same ones that allowed my in-laws to spend almost $700,000 a year. Alex, Lucy, my father-in-law, mother-in-law, and even an useless uncle had one each. It was time to get them back. The operation on my mobile banking app took just a few minutes. When the screen flashed, "Freeze successful," a cold smile formed on my lips. This was only the beginning. Alex, Lucy, you are going to pay the price for your betrayal. As soon as I finished, my phone rang. It was Lucy. I took a deep breath and accepted the call. "Sophia, what the hell is going on? My card isn't working. I was so embarrassed." Her voice was shrill and unpleasant. "Must be a system update," I said, with a calmness I didn't feel. "I'll look into it." "Well, hurry up. I'm meeting my friends." I hung up on her before she could finish. Immediately after, Alex called. Seeing my husband's name on the screen made my stomach churn. I rejected the call directly. "Miguel," I said, looking up at my chauffeur, "let's go to East Coast Group headquarters. I need to see Mr. Miller." Lucy Vargas's 6-figure job was living on borrowed time. Sitting on the leather couch in the office of the East Coast Group CEO, I drummed my fingers on the armrest. Mr. Miller, an old subordinate of my father's, looked at me with a pained expression. "Miss Blackwood, Miss Vargas is your sister-in-law. To do this isn't a bit," he said, adjusting his gold-rimmed glasses and wiping sweat from his forehead. "Mr. Miller," I said, taking a sip of tea, my voice soft but with an undeniable force. "Do you remember who took care of your son's drug problem in California a few years ago?" Mr. Miller's face turned ashen. "Understood," he said, and picked up the intercom. "Miss Rivers, please contact Human Resources. Prepare the termination papers for Lucy Vargas. Make sure her final check is ready today." Putting down my cup, a slight smile touched my lips. "Thank you very much. Oh, by the way, I hear the East Coast Group is having some trouble with the land for the new Manhattan North project. My father plays golf with the Minister of Development." Mr. Miller's eyes lit up. He nodded repeatedly. "Miss Blackwood, don't worry. I will handle this matter flawlessly." As I left the building, the sunlight was blinding. I had 17 missed calls, 5 from Alex, 3 from my mother-in-law, and the rest from Lucy. I called my best friend, Elaine Thompson. "You got time? Let's grab a drink." 30 minutes later, at a bar in the Four Seasons Hotel, Elaine arrived stomping in her 4-inch Christian Louboutin heels, dressed in a sharp black suit. Every man in the place turned to look at her. "Sophia Blackwood, so you're back from Paris early?" she asked, raising an eyebrow as soon as she sat down. "Don't tell me Alex is up to his old tricks again." Stirring a rose in my teacup, I told her, without leaving out a single detail, what I had seen that morning. Elaine cursed, causing the table next to us to turn. She didn't care. "Lucy, that ungrateful witch. After how good you've been to her, and she dares to conspire with her brother to keep a mistress?" "That's not all," I said, opening an email on my phone and handing it to her. "A private detective just sent me this. The girl's name is Valerie Jones. She's 22 and a junior at NYU studying dramatic arts." "And you know who introduced her to Alex?" Elaine scanned the file quickly, her eyes widening. "Lucy." "Exactly," I replied with a cold smile. "And not only that, Lucy used my contacts to get Valerie an internship at a production company, a subsidiary of the Blackwood Group." "This is too much. Is she insane?" Elaine slammed her hand on the table, furious. "What are you going to do?" I carefully applied hand cream. "First, the in-laws' black cards are canceled. Second," I looked at my watch, By now, Lucy should have received her termination letter. Elaine whistled. Well done, but your in-laws aren't going to just take this sitting down. Oh, really? I asked, lifting my cup. By the way, Elaine, look into Vargas Construction's accounts. Dad says Alex has been siphoning a lot of money overseas. Elaine's expression turned serious. I already had it on my radar. The cash flow from several of their projects is very suspicious. I think Alex is embezzling company funds. A tremor ran through my fingers, and several drops of tea spilled on the table. I knew Alex was ungrateful, but stealing from his own family's company? As we talked, my phone rang again. It was my mother-in-law. I took a deep breath and answered. Sophia, what's happening? Your father and I were in Milan buying some furniture, and suddenly the card stopped working. Her tone was full of evident displeasure. Oh, mother-in-law, they must be updating the bank's system. You know how those things happen, I said in an innocent voice. Don't worry, I'll check on it tomorrow. But this sofa is a limited global edition, she whined. I interrupted her. Mother-in-law, I'm in a meeting. I'll call you back. Pay with another card, okay? Without giving her time to reply, I hung up firmly. Elaine gave me a thumbs up. What a great actress, Sophia. I gave a bitter smile. In 5 years of marriage, if there was one thing I had learned, it was how to act. My phone vibrated again. Alex. Elaine and I exchanged a look. I put it on speaker. Sophia, what the hell are you doing? Alex's shout echoed through the phone. Lucy just got fired for no reason. It was you, wasn't it? I kept the speaker on so Elaine could hear everything. Alex, honey, what are you talking about? Lucy got fired? But how? Don't play dumb, he shouted even louder. Miller said it was an order from above. Who else but the Blackwood Group can get an executive fired from the East Coast Group with a single call? I covered my mouth and coughed to hide my laughter. Honey, I really don't know anything. I just got off the plane. I'm still jet-lagged. You? Alex's voice wavered and lowered in tone. Where are you? We need to talk. Having some tea with Elaine. I looked at Elaine, who was red from holding back laughter. Why don't you come up? We're at the Four Seasons. I'm on my way, he said, and hung up. Elaine finally burst into laughter. Oh my God, Sophia, I didn't know you were such a good actress. The Academy should give you an Oscar. I shook my head, my smile fading. He's not coming to talk. He's coming to see if I'm guilty. And now what? Elaine asked. I looked out the window. The panorama of New York City stretched out below us, a sea of cars and brilliant lights. Now, we let things heat up a bit. Lucy losing her job is just the appetizer. We'll see what my dear in-law's next move is. 20 minutes later, as expected, Alex didn't show up. Instead, Lucy posted something on Instagram. Time puts everyone in their place. Some people shouldn't be so arrogant, or karma will take care of them. The photo was a black and white selfie, her eyes red as if she had been crying. I liked it with a frozen smile. Elaine rolled her eyes. That girl isn't very smart, provoking you in this situation. She's been spoiled since she was little, I said, putting my phone down. In that family, they've always favored the son, but they've always indulged her too. And what are you going to do about Valerie? Elaine asked. My gaze hardened. For now, I'll let her rot. If Alex set her up with a walk-in closet, let's see how long he can keep her. Suddenly, Elaine lowered her voice. Sophia, I have to tell you something. If Alex is really embezzling funds, this is no longer a personal problem. If the scandal breaks, it could tarnish the Blackwood Group. My heart skipped a beat. What do you mean? I mean, Elaine said, serious now, you have to prepare for the worst, gather evidence, and protect yourself. A guy like Alex, if he's cornered, is capable of anything. I nodded. Something occurred to me. By the way, do a thorough investigation into Valerie Jones. I have a feeling this isn't so simple. Actually, Elaine said, looking at her watch, I have to get back to the firm. A client is waiting for me. Are you going home tonight? Of course, I said, giving a smile. After all, it's my house. After saying goodbye to Elaine, I went straight to my father's company. On the top floor of the Blackwood Group headquarters, my father was receiving reports from his executives. When he saw me come in, he interrupted the meeting. "Dad, we need to investigate the cash flow of Vargas Construction," I said bluntly. My father frowned. "What's wrong?" I told him what had happened that morning and my suspicions about Alex's embezzlement. His expression hardened by the minute until he finally slammed his fist on the table. "Damn him!" he roared. "I knew from the beginning that boy was not to be trusted, but you insisted." "Dad," I interrupted him, "now is not the time for that. What's important is to find out exactly how much he has diverted and where." My father used the intercom to call the CFO and the head of the risk department to his office. While we waited, he handed me a stack of papers. "Take a look at this." It was the Vargas Construction bank statement for the last 3 months. Several large transfers stood out. The total amounted to almost $14 million. "Where did this money go?" I asked. "To a shell company in the Cayman Islands," my father said with disdain. "Alex thought he was being discreet, but he forgot that I have trustworthy people at the bank." I held my breath. 14 million. This was no longer a moral issue. It was a criminal offense. "Sophia," my father said, looking at me with solemnity, "what do you plan to do?" I closed the file. My voice sounded strangely calm. "First, gather all the evidence. And then," I looked up and met his eyes, "make them pay for it." When I left the Blackwood Group building, it was already dark. Sitting in the car, seeing the dozens of missed calls from Alex and the messages filled with insults from Lucy, I felt a deep exhaustion. Miguel looked at me, concerned, in the rearview mirror. "Ma'am, should we go straight home?" I closed my eyes. "Yes. Oh, and tomorrow, please call a locksmith. I want to change all the locks on the house." "All of them, ma'am?" Miguel asked, surprised. "Yes, all of them," I said, opening my eyes, including those of Alex's and Lucy's rooms. When the car entered the gated community, I saw the lights of the house on. Alex was back. I took a deep breath, composed my expression, and walked in. "Sophia." Alex jumped up from the couch, his face pale. "You're finally back." "What's wrong?" I asked, feigning surprise. "Did something happen? Are you still playing dumb?" He lunged at me. "What happened to Lucy was your doing, and the cards, too." I dodged him and set my purse on the console naturally. "Alex, I really don't know what you're talking about. I've been with Elaine and then at Dad's office talking about projects the whole time." Alex grabbed my wrist roughly. "Stop the nonsense. You think I don't know what you're up to?" I yanked my hand away. "Alex, watch your words," I said coldly. "You're in my house." "Your house," he scoffed. "For 5 years, everything has been yours. The house is yours, the car is yours. Even my sister's job depends on your family." A wave of rage surged through me, but I suppressed it. "And with the money from my house, you support your mistress?" Alex's face changed. "You? What nonsense are you talking about?" "Valerie Jones, 22 years old, student of dramatic arts," I recited clearly. "Want me to continue?" Alex's face went from panic to fury. "You've been investigating me?" "Investigating you? Please, I don't have that much free time. Your lovely little sister was showing that girl your love nest this morning, and I found them in the act." Alex stammered, looking away. "Sophia, listen to me. It's a misunderstanding." "Enough," I said, raising a hand to stop him. "I'm tired. We'll talk tomorrow." As I was about to go upstairs, Alex shouted after me. "Sophia, don't cross the line. You think the Blackwood Group is a big deal? I, Alex Vargas, can live perfectly well without your family." Without turning around, I simply waved my hand. "Then try." I went into the bedroom, locked the door, and collapsed on the floor. Finally, the tears I had held back all day flowed freely. My phone vibrated. It was a message from Elaine. "I've got it. Valerie Jones is not innocent. She's connected to several important businessmen. It seems she has someone behind her. I'll tell you more tomorrow." I wiped my tears and replied, "Okay." The night before my father-in-law's 60th birthday, I stood in front of the walk-in closet, running my fingers over the row of couture gowns. I stopped at a red Valentino with a deep V-neck, a red as intense as blood, as fire. My phone vibrated. A message from Elaine. Confirmed. Valerie Jones is also attending the party. Lucy arranged it. She says Alex is bringing her as his goddaughter. I smiled coldly and replied, "Perfect." I put down the phone and took out the red dress, trying it on. 5 years ago at my wedding, my mother-in-law told me that red was too flashy, unbecoming of a good family's daughter-in-law. Tomorrow, I plan to dazzle. The party was held in the grand ballroom of the Ritz Hotel. I arrived deliberately 20 minutes late. When the staff opened the imposing golden doors, I walked in elegantly, wearing my diamond-encrusted Jimmy Choo heels. All eyes turned to me. "Sophia, darling, you came," my mother-in-law said, approaching with a forced smile. Her gaze, however, was fixed on my fiery red dress, and a flash of distaste crossed her face. "Happy birthday, mother-in-law, father-in-law. I hope you have many more," I said with a smile as I handed them a gift box. Inside was a Patek Philippe watch worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, bought, of course, with her black card. My father-in-law accepted the gift with a tense smile. "Well, your presence is gift enough." I scanned the ballroom. Soon, I located Alex and Lucy in a corner. Next to them, of course, was Valerie Jones. She was wearing a white lace dress, pretending to be an innocent college student, but on her wrist was a limited edition Cartier bracelet. I remembered seeing the receipt in Alex's pocket last month. "And who is this young lady?" I asked, approaching them as if I knew nothing. Alex's body visibly tensed. Lucy quickly stepped in front of Valerie. "Oh, this is a friend from my college. Her name is Valerie. Valerie, this is my sister-in-law." Valerie timidly extended her hand to me. "Nice to meet you, Sophia. Lucy has told me so much about you." I didn't shake her hand. I simply gave a slight smile. "Oh, really? And what did she tell you?" Valerie's hand hung awkwardly in the air, and her face turned as red as a tomato. Lucy hurried to intervene. "She admires you so much, Sophia. She says you're very elegant and you dress very well." "Oh," I said, raising an eyebrow. "He has good taste, Alex." Finally, he couldn't take it anymore. "Sophia, do you think it's appropriate to come dressed like this to my father's birthday?" I looked at my red dress, then at the admiring glances of the other guests, and let out a small giggle. "Why? Don't you like it? Mrs. Jones just told me that it complements my skin tone." Alex was about to retort, but Lucy stopped him. "Brother, everyone's looking." With elegance, I took a glass of champagne and walked toward the corporate heavyweights. They were all old friends of my father's and important partners of my husband's family. "Mr. Brown, Mr. Garcia, long time no see." I raised my glass in greeting. "Sophia, you get more beautiful every day," Mr. Brown said, smiling. "How is your father?" "Very well, thank you. Busy, as always." I took a sip of champagne. "By the way, I hear Vargas Construction is having some problems with the new Manhattan North project." The businessmen exchanged a look. Mr. Garcia lowered his voice. "Sophia, it's better not to comment on these things. The financial situation of Vargas Construction isn't good lately, and several banks have them in their sights." I feigned surprise. "Really? Alex hasn't told me a thing. You, Sophia." Mr. Brown shook his head. "You're too innocent." At that moment, Lucy approached with Valerie. "Mr. Brown, Mr. Garcia, good evening." Lucy greeted them cordially, and then pushed Valerie forward. "Valerie was very eager to meet you." Valerie immediately raised her glass. "I've heard so much about you. Allow me to toast to the masters." I watched her performance, laughing on the inside. The girl knew how to move in these circles. No wonder Alex fell for her. After several rounds of drinks, the atmosphere relaxed. I saw Lucy whisper something in Valerie's ear. She nodded, grabbed a glass of red wine, and came toward me. "Sophia." Valerie's voice was cloyingly sweet. "A toast to you. Thanks for the invitation." I saw the red wine in her hand and knew. Just as she was about to clink her glass against mine, her wrist tilted abruptly, and the entire contents spilled onto my red dress. "Oh, I'm so sorry, Valerie cried, feigning clumsiness as she tried to wipe me off. But a flash of triumph gleamed in her eyes. The ballroom went silent. All eyes were on us. Alex and Lucy rushed over, with poorly disguised satisfaction on their faces. "Sophia, don't worry. Valerie didn't do it on purpose," Alex said, though his gaze was defiant. I looked at the wine stain on my dress, slowly raised my head, and gave a perfect smile. "It's nothing." Just when everyone expected me to make a scene, a waiter passed by Valerie and accidentally stumbled into her. The 3 glasses of red wine on his tray spilled all over the girl's pristine white dress. "Ah!" Valerie shrieked shrilly. She frantically shook her dress. "Hey, don't you have eyes? Do you know how much this dress costs?" The ballroom fell silent. The pure and virginal swan of a moment ago had transformed into a shrieking fishwife. My mother-in-law strode over. "What is this scandal, Sophia? How can you humiliate a guest like this?" I blinked innocently. "Mother-in-law, you saw it yourself. It was an accident on the waiter's part." "You!" Alex's face was livid. Undeterred, I pulled my phone from my purse and played an audio file. Lucy's voice echoed clearly throughout the ballroom. "Ha, that barren hen. What right does she have to be in this family? She's just a walking ATM. My brother says that as soon as you get pregnant, he's going to divorce her." There was a general murmur. Lucy turned as white as a ghost. Alex exploded. "Sophia, how dare you?" "Dare to do what?" I cut him off coldly. "To air your family's dirty laundry?" I turned to my father-in-law. "Father-in-law, happy birthday. Do you like my gift?" My father-in-law's face was a mess. The glass he was holding fell to the floor, shattering with a metallic clatter. "Sophia!" Alex yelled, lunging at me with his hand raised. I stood still. Just before his hand reached my face, 2 bodyguards in black appeared out of nowhere and grabbed his wrist. "Mr. Vargas, please behave yourself," one of them said in an icy voice. I adjusted my dress and gave a slight bow to the guests. "I apologize for ruining the evening. I must take my leave." As I walked away, I heard my mother-in-law's hysterical screams and my father-in-law's curses. Alex, held back by the bodyguards, tried to follow me, but I was already getting into the car. "Home, ma'am?" Miguel asked. "No, take me to see Elaine." I took off my stained jacket and pulled an envelope from under the seat. "The show has just begun." As the car drove away from the Ritz, I saw Valerie at the entrance trying to hail a cab, looking pathetic. Her white dress was now an ugly shade of pink. I rolled down the window, gave her a slight smile, and mouthed 2 words. "Goodbye, beautiful." Her expression was as if she had seen a ghost. At Elaine's apartment, I handed her the envelope. "Vargas Construction's financial reports from the last 3 years. Take a look." Elaine flipped through it, her frown deepening. "Sophia, this isn't just embezzlement. Alex has been falsifying the accounts, inflating project costs. We're talking about a sum of at least $35 million. I held my breath. $35 million. He was insane. "And the worst part," Elaine said, pointing to a page, "is that the money didn't go to his personal account, but to an investment company called Argos Investments." Argos Investments. The name sounded familiar. "Wait, isn't that Richard Moreno's company?" Elaine nodded. "The same one. Richard Moreno, the real estate mogul from New York, my father's eternal rival. If Alex and Moreno were in cahoots..." My phone suddenly rang. It was an unknown number. I hesitated for a moment before answering. "Miss Blackwood?" It was a female voice I didn't know. "This is Valerie Jones. Can we talk?" I raised an eyebrow. "About what?" About Mr. Vargas and Mr. Moreno." Her voice trembled. "I have confidential information, but I need protection." Elaine and I exchanged a look. "Come to Elaine's law firm right now. I'll text you the address. Don't tell anyone." After hanging up, Elaine frowned. You trust her? I shook my head. No, but since she offered, let's see what she has to say. 30 minutes later, the doorbell rang. Elaine checked the peephole to confirm it was Valerie before opening the door. Far from her glamorous appearance at the party, Valerie's face was pale and her eyes were swollen. She had been crying. "Sophia," she said, and as soon as she entered, she knelt down. I didn't help her up. "Talk. What's going on?" Between sobs, Valerie confessed, "I didn't approach Mr. Vargas on my own free will. I was ordered by Mr. Moreno. He wanted me to get business secrets from Vargas Construction and the Blackwood Group." My heart skipped a beat. "Go on." "Mr. Moreno promised me $2 million and to pay for my studies abroad if I succeeded," she said, wiping her tears. "But today I realized that he won't keep his promise. After the party, he sent people to warn me to keep my mouth shut. Or else what?" Elaine pressed her. "Or else he would ruin my career and hurt my family." Valerie burst into tears again. "Sophia, I know I did wrong. Please, help me." I stared at her for a long time, and then suddenly asked, "Does Alex know you're Moreno's person?" Valerie shook her head. "No. Mr. Moreno said that Alex was just a pawn, that he would discard him after he used him." A pawn. A chill ran through me. What if Moreno's real target wasn't the Vargas family, but my Blackwood Group? "Elaine," I stood up. "Find someone to protect Valerie. I have to see my father immediately." Valerie grabbed my dress. "Sophia, there's something else. Mr. Vargas and Mr. Moreno plan to move some important documents next week. I think they have to do with the New Manhattan North Project." The New Manhattan North Project, the Blackwood Group and Vargas Construction's largest joint real estate project, valued at $2 billion. I leaned down and looked her in the eye. "Are you sure?" She nodded desperately. "Mr. Vargas said it one night when he was drunk. He said that this time he would deliver a big blow to the Blackwood Group." I straightened up. I felt as if my blood had frozen in my veins. Alex had not only betrayed me, but he also wanted to destroy my family. "Elaine, prepare the legal documents." My voice was icy. "It's time to show Alex Vargas what happens when you play with fire." The press conference was scheduled for 10 in the morning. I arrived at 7. Elaine was already there with her team, preparing the room. On the giant screen, a presentation I had prepared myself was on a loop. "How's it going?" I approached and offered Elaine a coffee. She rubbed her reddened eyes. "Everything's ready," she said, but hesitated for a moment. "Are you really sure you want to go this far? Once this is public, there's no turning back." I took a sip of coffee. The bitter taste spread across my tongue. From the moment Lucy brought Valerie into my house, there was no turning back. Elaine sighed and handed me a newspaper. The headline read, "Not from a business family. 5 years of infertility lead to husband's infidelity. The Blackwood Group heiress treated for mental instability." "The in-laws," I said, with a cold smile. Elaine showed me several social media posts. The trending topics were Sophia Blackwood infertile, crazy heiress, spurned vengeance. Lucy had paid several influencers to spread the rumors all over the net. My fingers trembled slightly as I read the poisonous comments. My in-laws wanted to completely destroy my reputation. "Don't worry," Elaine said, patting me on the shoulder. "After the press conference, these rumors will vanish." I shook my head. "I'm not worried about that. What I'm wondering is why Alex is in such a hurry. The logical thing would be for him to try and calm me down. He hasn't squeezed all the resources out of the Blackwood Group yet." Elaine frowned. "You're suggesting that someone is pulling the strings?" I put down the coffee cup. "Richard Moreno is not one to get involved in other people's business without a good reason." At that moment, my phone rang. The name Alex appeared on the screen. I answered and put it on speaker. "Sophia." Alex's voice was surprisingly soft. "Can we talk?" "About what?" My tone was neutral. "I know you're preparing a press conference." He paused. "Don't do it. We can handle our dirty laundry at home. Let's fix this in private." You want to? I raised an eyebrow. Wow, now you're worried about dirty laundry. You weren't thinking about that when you were in bed with your mistress. Were you, Sophia? His voice became almost pleading. I was wrong. I admit it. Give me a chance. Let's talk in person. Elaine and I exchanged a look. Okay, after the press conference, at 2, at the Palace Hotel restaurant. After hanging up, Elaine looked at me, incredulous. Are you really going to meet him? Of course, I said with a cold smile. The fact that he's so desperate to stop the press conference shows that we're on the right track. At 9:30, the media began to arrive. I retreated to the makeup room and asked the stylist for very subtle makeup. Miss Blackwood, do you want a strong look? The stylist asked cautiously. I looked at myself in the mirror. Vulnerable. The stylist was perplexed but did as I asked. I closed my eyes. At 10 o'clock sharp, I went up to the podium in a sober white suit. The flashes went off instantly. I tilted my head slightly, projecting an image of fragility and strength at the same time. Thank you to all the media for your time. My voice was soft. Lately, many rumors have been circulating about my husband and me. Today, I am here to clarify things. I turned on the giant screen. I showed a medical report from the Mount Sinai Hospital, one of the best hospitals in the country. Some people say I'm infertile. This is my gynecological report, which proves that everything is perfectly normal. Next, I played an audio recording. It was Alex's sweet words to Valerie. Sweetheart, as soon as I take control of the new Manhattan North project, I'm going to divorce that old hag. There was a murmur in the room. The journalists were taking photos nonstop. As for me being mentally unstable, I gave a bitter smile and showed more photos. They were images of Alex and Valerie on vacation in the Bahamas. The date coincided with the days I was taking care of my mother-in-law in the hospital after an operation. Finally, I pulled out my secret weapon, Vargas Construction's irregular financial reports, clear evidence of Alex's embezzlement of funds. As Alex Vargas's wife, I did not wish to make these things public, my voice trembled. But since his family has spread rumors to defame me, I have had no choice but to defend myself. The journalists' questions rained down. I answered some selectively, and then gave a deep bow. I'm sorry, I'm very emotionally distressed. We'll end the session for today. As I left the room, Elaine grabbed my arm. That was Oscar-worthy. Public opinion on the internet has already shifted completely. I wiped the tears from my eyes, which were actually drops from an eye moisturizer I had discreetly put in. Vargas Construction's stocks fell 5% at the open, and right after your press conference, they've plummeted to the trading limit, Elaine said, excited. I nodded. This is just the first step. At 2 in the afternoon, I arrived punctually at the Palace Hotel restaurant. Alex was already waiting for me. He looked quite haggard, with bloodshot eyes. Sophia, he stood up when he saw me. I motioned for him to sit down. I sat down opposite him and ordered a tea. The press conference, was all that really necessary? He asked, rubbing his hands together. I smiled coldly. Compared to the rumors your family spread on the internet, I've only limited myself to exposing the facts. I didn't do that, he defended himself hastily. It was Lucy. She's immature. I've already scolded her. Oh, of course, I said, stirring my tea calmly. And the article about the rich, infertile wife of 5 years wasn't your doing either. Alex's face changed. Sophia, we've been married for 5 years. Are you going to believe others before me? Believe you? I almost laughed. Alex, did you remember our 5 years of marriage when you were in bed with your mistress? His face went from panic to ashen. He suddenly grabbed my hand. Sophia, I'm sorry. I really am. Give me a chance. I'll leave Valerie right now. Alex, I pulled my hand away. It's too late. It's not too late, he said with urgency. We can start over. I'll do anything you want. I looked him in the eye. I want 51% of the shares of Vargas Construction. Can you give them to me? Alex froze. That's impossible. Then there's nothing more to talk about. I stood up. Wait, he stopped me. "Sophia, what do you really want?" I leaned in and whispered in his ear, "I want you to lose everything, for your reputation to hit rock bottom." With that, I turned around and left, leaving him petrified in his chair. As I walked out of the restaurant, Elaine's car was already waiting for me. "How did it go?" she asked as soon as she saw me. I buckled my seatbelt. Just as I expected, he tried to apologize falsely to find out my intentions. Elaine handed me a document. "Breaking news. Alex was at Richard Moreno's office this morning. He was there for 2 hours." I opened the file. There were photos from a detective. Alex was furtively entering the Argos Investments building and leaving 2 hours later, looking grim. "He's meeting with Moreno. Find out what they talked about." "I'm already on it," Elaine said, starting the car. "Oh, there's news about Valerie. What is it?" "Last night she went to your in-laws' estate and had a huge fight with Lucy." Elaine frowned. "The strange thing is that they weren't arguing about Alex, but because apparently some money hadn't been deposited into her account." My heart skipped a beat. Money. The $2 million Moreno promised her. "Probably," Elaine nodded. "And the weirdest part is that after the fight, Valerie received a call and left in a hurry. Since then, no one has heard from her." I frowned. "She's disappeared." "It's not for sure yet," Elaine said, turning the wheel. "I've already sent people to look for her in her usual spots." At that moment, my phone rang. It was my father. "Sophia, where are you?" His voice was very serious. "In Elaine's car. Why?" "Come home immediately." My father paused. "Richard Moreno just called. He wanted to talk about your situation with Alex." A shiver ran through me. "What did he say?" "He said," my father's voice was filled with anger, "that he can mediate your conflict. The condition is that we give him 30% of our stake in the new Manhattan North project." Just as I thought, Moreno was after the project. "Dad, don't accept under any circumstances." I gripped the phone tightly. "Alex's embezzlement must be related to him." "I know," my father said with disdain. "Moreno underestimates the Blackwood Group too much. Come home, and we'll discuss it in detail." I hung up and said to Elaine, "Let's go to my father's house." The Blackwood Group president's mansion in the Hamptons occupied a 20,000 square foot estate. My father had built it on land he bought at an auction 10 years ago. When the car entered the gate, I noticed that the number of security guards had doubled. My father was waiting for me in his study. He had several documents spread out on the table. "Sophia," he got straight to the point. "We've been tracking the money Alex sent to Moreno, and we found something interesting." I leaned in to look. They were several complex capital flow diagrams. "This money, after passing through 3 intermediaries," my father pointed to a line, "ends up in an overseas account, and the holder of that account," he flipped to the last page, "is Alex himself." My eyes widened. "He's been laundering money." "Not only that," my father said gravely. "I suspect he's conspiring with Moreno to siphon funds from the Blackwood Group." Suddenly an idea crossed my mind. "Dad, Valerie Jones could be the key." "Valerie Jones?" He frowned. "You mean his mistress?" I nodded. "She told me that Moreno sent her to get close to Alex. If Alex and Moreno are partners, why bother sending her?" My father looked thoughtful. "It's possible that at first, Alex didn't know Moreno's plan and was simply a pawn being used." At that moment, Elaine came in a hurry. "Bad news. Vargas Construction just issued a statement saying that Sophia's accusations are defamatory and that they will be taking legal action." "Going down swinging," my father said with disdain. "And that's not all." Elaine handed her phone to my father. "Alex just gave an interview to CNN saying that Sophia has mental problems, that she's in treatment, and that everything she said at the press conference was a delusion." I grabbed the phone. On the screen, Alex, impeccably dressed, had a pained expression. "I love my wife very much, but since she suffered a miscarriage, she's fallen into a depression and has refused to seek treatment." A miscarriage. Rage made me tremble. I had never been pregnant. My father took the phone, read it, and turned livid. "That damned animal." Elaine's phone suddenly rang. She answered, listened for a few words, and her expression changed. "What? Are you sure?" "Okay, keep watching." She hung up and turned to us. "They found Valerie. She's at New York Presbyterian Hospital. Someone beat her up. The extent of her injuries isn't known yet." My father and I looked at each other. Who did it? It's not clear, but before she lost consciousness, she kept repeating two words. Elaine took a deep breath. "The papers, the papers." I remembered what Valerie had told me, that Alex and Moreno planned to move some important documents. "Dad, I have to go see her." I stood up. "If she really knows something crucial—" My father nodded. "I'll put people at the hospital to protect her. Elaine, get the best doctors." As I left the study, my phone rang again. It was an unknown number. "Hello?" I answered cautiously. "Sophia." It was Lucy, but her voice was much more subdued than usual. "Looks like you've won." I smiled coldly. "At least I haven't lost." "My brother just signed some papers." Lucy's voice had a strange, laughing quality. "All your assets, real estate, stocks, funds, will be frozen. The law says that the assets of a mentally ill person are to be fully managed by their spouse." My heart skipped a beat. "You forged a psychiatric report about me?" "You're smart," Lucy laughed, "but too late. Oh, by the way, it seems your father's company's accounting books also have some problems. Mr. Moreno is having coffee with his friends from the SEC right now." The call suddenly cut off. I stood there feeling an icy coldness in my hands and feet. "What's wrong?" Elaine asked, concerned. I mechanically repeated Lucy's words. My father, hearing them, slammed his fist on the table. "Moreno, that old fox!" "Dad, our company's accounts are clean," I said. "They are," my father said with firmness. "But if they want to find something, they'll always find a way." I took a deep breath. "What do we do now?" My father looked thoughtful. "We'll split up. Elaine, you accompany Sophia to the hospital to see Valerie. I have to go visit some old friends." "Dad, be careful," I said, worried. My father patted me on the shoulder. "Don't worry. I've been in this world for 40 years. I've seen everything." As I left the mansion, I saw that Miguel wasn't driving the usual Mercedes, but a discreet Audi. "It's for security," Elaine explained. "They could have put a tracker on us." On the way to the hospital, my phone was non-stop with notifications. Vargas Construction's statement was already having an effect on social media, and public opinion was starting to divide. Some supported me, but others were beginning to doubt my mental state. "Don't look at it," Elaine said, taking the phone from me. "They're all bots paid to create an atmosphere." I leaned back in my seat and closed my eyes. This war was much more complicated and dangerous than I had imagined. Alex, Moreno, even Lucy. They all had their own plans. But one thing was clear. They had really angered me. "Elaine," I opened my eyes. "Contact the press. I'll hold another press conference tomorrow." "Another one?" Elaine was surprised. "The situation isn't in our favor right now." "Exactly," I smiled coldly. "Since they say I'm crazy, I'll show them what real craziness is." When the car stopped at the hospital entrance, I received a message from my father. "Confirmed. The SEC deputy director and Moreno were college friends. Be careful." I deleted the message and pulled up the collar of my coat. This war had just begun. Outside the private hospitalization area of New York Presbyterian, 2 bodyguards stopped us. "Miss Blackwood, Miss Thompson," one of them said in a low voice. "Miss Jones is awake, but her condition isn't good." I nodded and went in. Inside, Valerie was half sitting up in bed. Her face was swollen, and there was a bruise at the corner of her lips. When she saw me, her pupils contracted, and she instinctively shrank under the sheets. "Who hit you?" I asked bluntly. Valerie bit her lip in silence. Her gaze shifted toward the security camera in the corner. Elaine understood and took out her phone. "Inspector Scott, could you turn off the camera in room 3 of the private wing?" "Yes, right now." A few seconds later, the camera's red light went out. Now you can talk, right? I dragged a chair over and sat down. Suddenly, Valerie's eyes filled with tears. It was Mr. Moreno's people. They said I didn't do my job well, that I tried to betray him. I narrowed my eyes. You went to find him? She nodded, and then shook her head. I went for my money. He wasn't paying me the $2 million he promised. And you blackmailed him? Elaine said, her tone sharp. Valerie's face turned even paler. I just told him that if he didn't pay me, I would tell you everything, she said, looking at me timidly. Tell me what? I leaned forward. Mr. Moreno's and Mr. Vargas's plan? The new Manhattan North project? The door suddenly opened. A doctor in a white coat and 2 nurses came in. Time for rounds, the doctor said, expressionless. Companions, please step out. I frowned. We just arrived. It's hospital policy. The doctor approached the bed, looked at the chart, and took a syringe from a cart. Valerie began to resist violently. No, I don't want it. Don't give me anything, Sophia. Help me! Before I could react, Elaine had already stepped in between them. Just a moment. Why does the patient need an injection? A sedative, the doctor said coldly. The patient is very agitated. I'm her lawyer. Elaine showed her Bar Association card. You have no right to forcibly medicate her without a clear diagnosis. The doctor seemed flustered but insisted. It's a medical prescription. What doctor prescribed it? Elaine didn't give up. While they argued, Valerie grabbed my wrist and quickly wrote 3 numbers on my palm. 528. Before I could understand, the doctor pushed Elaine aside roughly and plunged the needle into Valerie's arm. A few seconds later, her gaze clouded over, and her hand fell from mine, powerless. What department are you from? I asked harshly. May I see your IDs? The doctor didn't answer, turned around, and rushed out with the nurses. That's odd, Elaine said, and went after them. She came back shortly, her face full of concern. They're gone. There's no one in the whole hallway. Call the bodyguards immediately. Tell them to watch the elevators and stairs. Stop 1 doctor and 2 nurses. I hung up and looked at Valerie, now asleep, clenching my fists. 528. What does it mean? A password? A room number? My phone vibrated. A message from my father. Check social media. I opened Twitter. The top trending topic was, Valerie accuses Sophia. Clicking on it, a long statement published from Valerie's verified account appeared. The publication time was 30 minutes ago. In it, she described herself as a naive college student deceived by my husband and claimed that I had threatened, blackmailed, and even sent people to beat her up. She attached photos of herself in the hospital bed and of several bruises. What a pack of lies, Elaine couldn't help but say. She didn't write this. She's unconscious. I kept reading. The comments section was chaos. Fake accounts were mass posting comments like, "The elite are so dark," and "Hang in there, Valerie." Several influencers had amplified the message. The interactions were in the hundreds of thousands. It's Lucy's doing, I said with a frozen smile. She bribed someone at the hospital to sedate Valerie and publish this from her account. At that moment, my phone rang again. It was my father-in-law. Sophia. His voice was surprisingly kind. I just heard about the internet thing. It was just a childish prank by Lucy. I think we should sit down and talk calmly. I almost laughed. Father-in-law, now you want to talk to me? We're a family, aren't we? He laughed half-heartedly. Look, I'll arrange a lunch tomorrow. Bring your father and we'll talk about everything. No need, I said coldly. If you have something to say it now. There was a silence of several seconds. When he spoke again, his tone was lower. Sophia, Vargas Construction is going through a rough patch. Stocks have fallen a lot, and the banks are demanding we repay the loans. A cold smile appeared on my lips. So you wanted to ask, he said with difficulty, if you could talk to your father to advance us about $14 million. We'll put up Vargas Construction shares as collateral. 14 million. Wow, he wasn't playing around. Father-in-law, I said, drawing out my words. "Did you forget that Vargas Construction announced this morning that it would sue me for defamation and that Alex publicly said I have mental problems?" "That was a misunderstanding," he rushed to say. "I've already scolded Alex. I told him to retract the statement. Sophia, for the 5 years we've been family—" "It's too late," I interrupted him. "By the way, why don't you investigate where those $14 million that Alex sent to the Cayman Islands in the last 6 months went?" With that, I hung up. Elaine looked at me with wide eyes. "You're going all in, huh?" I shook my head. "It's not me. It's the Vargas family that's destroying itself." I opened the bank app on my phone and showed her a statement. Look, the money Alex embezzled ended up in a shell company controlled by Moreno. "So, Moreno is using Alex to drain Vargas Construction." Elaine understood. "And not only that," I smiled coldly, "I think his real target is the new Manhattan North project." At that moment, one of the bodyguards called. They hadn't found the 3 fake medical staff. I ordered him to reinforce security and not let anyone get near Valerie. As we left the hospital, a horde of journalists was already waiting for us. Dozens of cameras blocked the entrance. We had to push our way through with the help of the bodyguards to get to the car, but the flashes still penetrated the tinted windows. "To your apartment, ma'am?" Miguel asked. I shook my head. "To the office." At the Blackwood Group headquarters, my father was in an emergency meeting with the executives. Seeing me come in, he paused. "The situation isn't good." He handed me some papers. Moreno has started leaking doubts about the Blackwood Group's financial health to the press. Our stocks have already fallen 7% today. I opened the file. It was an article from a financial newspaper. The headline, "Suspicions of Accounting Fraud at the Blackwood Group. The Mystery of the New Manhattan North Project Funds." What audacity! I trembled with rage. We invested $1 billion of our own funds in that project. Every penny is accounted for. "The problem," my father said gravely, "is that Moreno has bought off the deputy director of the SEC. They're sending an inspection team to the company tomorrow." Elaine held her breath. "This is a full-blown attack." I clenched my fists. "Dad, we have to fight back." "How?" my father said with a bitter smile. "Moreno has many political and financial contacts." "With Valerie Jones," I interrupted him. "She's the key witness. Before she lost consciousness, she wrote 3 numbers on my hand. 528. My father frowned. "What does it mean?" "I don't know." I shook my head. "It could be a password or a room number." "Wait a minute," Elaine suddenly intervened. "Alex has a permanent suite reserved at the Palace Hotel. The number is 528. My father and I looked at each other. "Investigate it." Elaine left to make a call to find out more about Suite 528. I turned on the computer and went on social media. Valerie's accusation was already the most commented topic. We can't let the narrative go this way. I gritted my teeth. "Elaine, contact the major media outlets. I'll hold a press conference tomorrow at 10. "Are you sure?" Elaine asked, worried. "Right now, public opinion isn't on our side." "Exactly," I smiled coldly. "Since they say I threatened Valerie, I'll show them who is really threatening whom." I opened the gallery on my phone and pulled up the photos the detective had sent me. A clear image of Alex and Valerie kissing in a hotel hallway. The date was 3 months ago when he had told me he was on a business trip. This will be enough. I moved on to the next image, showing more evidence. Security camera footage from the hotel, records of their stays, even bank statements of Alex's transfers to Valerie. Elaine whistled. More than enough. "But isn't it too much to expose all this?" I scoffed. "When they forged my psychiatric report to try and control my assets, did it seem like too much to them?" My father placed a hand on my shoulder. "Do what you have to do. You have my support." That night, when I returned to my apartment, it was very late. I had just gotten out of the shower when Elaine called. "I found it." Her voice was excited. "Suite 528 is indeed Alex's, and according to a hotel employee, he was there late last night and took a safe with him." My heart skipped a beat. A safe. Yes. And the most important thing," she lowered her voice, "is that Moreno's secretary was also in that room this afternoon." I instantly understood Valerie's message. "There's evidence in Suite 528. Elaine, send someone to retrieve the contents of that safe." "I'm already on it," Elaine said, "but we'll probably need a court order." "There's no time." I looked at my watch. It was already 1 a.m. "Moreno will send the inspectors tomorrow. We have to get that evidence tonight." I hung up, got dressed, and prepared to leave. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. Who could it be at this hour? Through the peephole, I saw Alex. His face was grim. "Sophia, I know you're in there." He pounded on the door. "Open up, we need to talk." I didn't make a sound. I silently backed away and called security. "Sophia!" Alex started kicking the door. "You think I don't know you're inside? Open up." The door trembled with every kick. I gripped my phone tightly and retreated toward the balcony, ready to scream at any moment. Suddenly, with a crash, the door flew off its hinges. Alex ran in, his eyes bloodshot. Behind him were 2 burly men. "Search!" he yelled. "Her phone, her computer, find everything!" The 2 men started ransacking the apartment. Alex lunged at me and grabbed my wrist. "Where's the evidence?" "What evidence?" I feigned calmness. "Don't play dumb." He squeezed harder, and the pain made me see stars. "That bitch Valerie told you, didn't she? Tell me, where are the things from 528? So it was true. The safe contained evidence of his crimes. "I don't know what you're talking about." I tried to pull away. "This is a home invasion. I've already called the police." "Called?" he scoffed. "Who's going to believe the word of a crazy woman?" With that, he raised his hand to hit me. In that critical moment, 4 bodyguards burst into the apartment and subdued Alex and his men in the blink of an eye. "Ma'am, are you okay?" the head of security asked. I shook my head and straightened my clothes. I approached Alex, who was immobilized on the floor, and knelt down. "Alex," I said calmly, "we're getting a divorce." His eyes widened. You dare?" "And not only that," I continued. "Tomorrow at the press conference, I will reveal the evidence of how you and Moreno conspired to embezzle funds and defraud the Blackwood Group." Alex's face turned ashen. You don't have them. Oh, by the way," I stood up and looked down at him. "Valerie Jones has woken up. She has agreed to testify in court. Who do you think the judge will believe? A woman you almost beat to death, or the husband who forged his wife's psychiatric report?" Alex's face was as pale as wax. He suddenly began to struggle. "Sophia, I was wrong. It was all Moreno's idea. He threatened me." "Enough." I turned to the bodyguards. "Call the police. Home invasion and attempted assault." As they were taking him away, Alex continued to scream for forgiveness. I was left alone in my wrecked apartment, feeling a profound exhaustion. My phone rang. It was Elaine. "Sophia, we got the safe from 528. Inside were the secret contract between Alex and Moreno and the fake accounting books of Vargas Construction." I let out a long sigh of relief. "Thank God." "And there's something even bigger," Elaine said, excited. "There were also the records of Moreno's bribes to the SEC deputy director." My eyes gleamed. That was more than enough to prove they had tried to set a trap for the Blackwood Group. "Tomorrow's press conference," Elaine laughed, "is going to be epic." I hung up and looked at the night view of the city. For the first time, I felt victory was within reach. "Alex, Moreno, did you think you could cover the sun with your finger? Tomorrow I will show you what it means to reap what you sow." 4 days after the press conference, Alex's lawyer contacted me to negotiate an amicable divorce. An amicable divorce? I laughed coldly. I guess he wasn't thinking about friendship when he forced his way into my house with his thugs. On the other end of the line, the voice of Mr. Evans, the Vargas family's veteran lawyer, sounded uncomfortable. "Miss Blackwood, Mr. Vargas insists that it was a misunderstanding." "Mr. Evans," I interrupted him, "tell Mr. Vargas that we'll meet tomorrow at 10 at Morales & Associates. If he doesn't show up, he'll lose his chance." I hung up and looked at Elaine sitting opposite me. "Is everything ready?" Elaine slid a folder across the table. Everything's here. Evidence of embezzlement, evidence of assault, evidence of document forgery. Enough for him to spend a decade in jail. I opened the folder. Inside were the documents from the safe in Suite 528. The secret contract between Alex and Moreno, the fake accounting books of Vargas Construction, and even a detailed plan to trap the Blackwood group. "And Valerie?" I asked. "She's under protection," Elaine said, her frown deepening. "But her emotional state is unstable. She keeps saying that someone wants to kill her." I nodded. After I published the evidence of Alex and Valerie's infidelity at the press conference, public opinion had completely shifted. Vargas Construction stocks plummeted for 3 consecutive days, and the banks began to withdraw their lines of credit. The Vargas family was on the verge of bankruptcy. "Oh, by the way," Elaine said suddenly, "any movement from Moreno?" I shook my head. "A deathly silence. And that's what worries me. After his bribes to the SEC deputy director were revealed, the commission immediately suspended the inspection of our company and the deputy director was removed. But Moreno is acting as if nothing happened. It's too abnormal. That old fox isn't going to just take this sitting down." "That's why we have to hurry," I said, closing the folder. "Tomorrow we'll sign the divorce agreement, and immediately after we'll start the process against Moreno." The next day, I arrived deliberately 20 minutes late to the law firm. When I entered the meeting room, Alex and his lawyer were already waiting. Alex looked haggard, with bloodshot eyes and a wrinkled suit, but when he saw me, he forced a contemptuous smile. "Sophia, you finally show up." He checked his watch. "I thought you wouldn't dare to come." I ignored him and sat down opposite him. Elaine, my lawyer, got straight to the point. Following Miss Blackwood's instructions, the divorce agreement includes the following points. First, all real estate acquired during the marriage will become the exclusive property of Miss Blackwood. "Hold on," Alex interrupted her. "Based on what?" "Based on Article 98 of the Family Code," Elaine said calmly, "and on the fact that you are the guilty party in the breakdown of the marriage." Alex let out a mocking laugh. He pulled a stack of papers from his briefcase and threw them on the table. "Read this first." I picked it up. It was a psychiatric evaluation report. My name was on it, and the diagnosis was paranoid schizophrenia. "Mr. Wilson," Alex said, triumphant, "according to the law, who should manage the assets of a mentally ill person, the spouse or a direct family member in the capacity of a guardian?" "The direct family member," Mr. Evans said, adjusting his glasses without daring to look at me. Alex leaned back in his chair with a triumphant smile. "Sophia, for old time's sake, if you renounce all your assets, I won't commit you to a psychiatric hospital." I watched his performance in silence. When he finished, I took a flash drive from my purse and gave it to Elaine. She plugged it into the computer, and a series of bank statements appeared on the projector. On March 15, 2021, Mr. Vargas embezzled $14 million from Vargas Construction and transferred it to an account in the Cayman Islands, Elaine read. Alex's face changed. On May 8, 2021, he embezzled another $25 million. "That's false," Alex jumped up. Elaine continued to flip through pages. "Here, we also have the secret contract signed by you and Mr. Moreno, which stipulates the distribution of profits from the new Manhattan North project." "Enough!" Alex overturned the coffee cup in front of him. The brown liquid splattered on his white shirt. "What the hell do you want, Sophia?" I looked him straight in the eye. "It's simple. First, sign the divorce agreement and distribute the assets according to my terms. Second, cooperate with our investigation against Moreno. And third," I paused, "make a public apology to my father and me." Alex's face went through every color of the rainbow. "This is blackmail." "No," I smiled. "It's an opportunity. Otherwise—" I looked at Elaine. Elaine pulled out another document. According to Article 25 and 3 of the Criminal Code, the misappropriation of assets in the performance of administrative duties is punishable by prison sentences of 1 to 6 years. Given the amount, we would be talking about the maximum sentence. Alex slumped into his chair. "Mr. Vargas," his lawyer said, wiping sweat from his forehead, "I think you should seriously consider Miss Blackwood's proposal." There was a tense silence. Alex kept his head down, his fists clenched. I saw a vein throbbing in his temple. Finally, he lifted his head. His eyes were filled with a resentment I had never seen before. "Sophia, you're a viper." I gave a slight smile. Like father, like daughter. The signing of the divorce agreement went smoothly. Alex renounced almost all his assets, keeping only his Porsche and some personal belongings. In exchange, I promised not to press criminal charges for the embezzlement. "Oh, by the way," I said before leaving, "Valerie Jones asked me to give you a message. She says she still has some interesting things saved. If you bother her or her family again, she won't hesitate to call another press conference." Alex's face turned ashen. "That bitch! She's still alive?" I raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" Nothing. He quickly looked away and rushed out of the room. Seeing his back fleeing, a suspicion grew inside me. Why did Alex think Valerie might not be alive? "Elaine," I turned to my friend, "where is Valerie now?" "In a safe place." She lowered her voice. After the press conference, she was terrified. She said some men in black were following her. I thought for a moment. "I have to see her." "It's too dangerous," Elaine objected. "Right now she's a walking target. Anyone who gets close to her is in danger." "Precisely." I stood up. "I think she knows a lot more than she's told us." That afternoon, thanks to Elaine's arrangements, I arrived at a secluded villa on the outskirts of the city. Valerie was staying in a suite in the basement with 4 bodyguards protecting her 24/7. When she saw me, she shrank into a corner of the couch like a frightened rabbit. "Sophia." I saw that her left arm was in a sling and that she still had bruises on her face. "Who hit you?" I asked bluntly. Valerie bit her lip in silence. "It wasn't Alex, was it?" I pressed her. She suddenly raised her head, surprise in her eyes. "It was Moreno's people," I stated. Tears welled up in her eyes. They said I was useless, that I hadn't gotten the key documents for the new Manhattan North project." "And that's why you stole the documents from Alex's safe?" I pressed her. She nodded and then shook her head. "I just wanted to protect myself. Moreno promised me money and an education, but I knew too much. He wasn't going to let me go just like that." I sat down in front of her. "Valerie, be honest. Who are you, really?" She was silent for a long time. Finally, she spoke. "I'm a student at the Juilliard School. Yes, but I'm also an industrial spy, trained by Moreno." "An industrial spy?" Elaine and I looked at each other. "Moreno recruits beautiful girls and trains them to get close to specific targets," Valerie said in a low voice. "Alex was just one of them. What Moreno really wanted was the key data on the new Manhattan North project from the Blackwood Group." My heart skipped a beat. "Why?" "Because a rare earth deposit has been discovered under the project's land." She raised her head. "According to Moreno, the value of that deposit is in the tens of billions of dollars, but it's information that hasn't been made public yet." Elaine held her breath. "So that's why Moreno tried to sink the Blackwood Group, for the deposit." Valerie nodded. "Alex didn't know at first. He thought Moreno just wanted a share of the project's profits. When he found out the truth, it was too late to back out." "So that night," I suddenly understood. The men who broke into my house weren't just Alex's men, but also Moreno's. "Probably," Valerie said, trembling. "Moreno knew I had stolen the papers, and he would do anything to get them back." I stood up and began to pace the room. The situation was much more complex than I had imagined. It wasn't a simple case of divorce due to infidelity, but a meticulously planned corporate conspiracy. "Valerie," I stopped. "Are you willing to testify in court?" She shook her head, terrified. "No, Moreno will kill me." "If you don't testify," I said calmly, "Moreno and Alex will get away with it, and sooner or later they'll find you. But I can protect you," I interrupted her. "You and your family. I'll send you abroad. A new identity, a new life." She raised her head, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. "Really? Only if you testify. Otherwise—" I left the sentence hanging. Valerie understood the implicit threat. If she didn't testify, no one would protect her. "I'll think about it," she said in a low voice. "Okay," I stood up, "but you don't have much time. Moreno isn't going to just sit on his hands." As I left the safe house, Elaine immediately called. "Reinforce Valerie's security. 3 shifts. Don't let anyone get near her." She hung up and turned to me. "Do you really believe her?" I shook my head. "Not entirely, but right now she's our only leverage." At that moment, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. "Sophia." It was a deep, raspy man's voice. "Don't cross the line." A chill ran through me. Richard Moreno. He chuckled. "You're smart, but smart people don't usually live long." "Is that a threat?" I laughed coldly. "The evidence that was released is just the tip of the iceberg." "That evidence, it doesn't even touch me." His voice was casual. "But your father, the mine accident in West Virginia 20 years ago. What would happen if the world found out?" My fingers trembled. "What nonsense are you talking about? Ask your father." With that, Moreno hung up. I stood there with the phone pressed to my ear, my heart pounding a mile a minute. The mine accident in West Virginia. My father had never talked to me about it. "What's wrong?" Elaine asked, concerned. I shook my head. "Take me to my father's house." In the mansion, my father listened to my story, and his face turned ashen. "How? How does he know?" he mumbled. "Dad, what exactly happened?" I grabbed his trembling hand. My father sighed deeply and told me the story of the covered-up mine accident from 20 years ago. Back then, he had just started his business career and was a partner in a mine in West Virginia. A gas explosion killed 7 miners. His partner bribed local officials to cover up the accident. My father didn't find out until later, but he chose to keep silent. "It was a criminal offense," he said with pain. "If it were known, I'd get at least 7 years in prison." I felt as if I had been thrown into a frozen well. Moreno had our weak spot. "Sophia," my father said suddenly, grabbing my hand, "you have to stop the investigation against Moreno right now. The divorce is already signed. The Vargas family has paid its price. Let's leave it at that." "But—" "No buts," he yelled at me, something he rarely did. "I can't let you put yourself in danger." I was silent. He was right. If I kept going, I could ruin his life. But letting Moreno and Alex get away with it was unbearable. While we were in that tense silence, the butler ran in. "Sir, the hospital is calling. Your father-in-law has suffered a stroke. They're operating on him urgently." My father and I froze. My father-in-law, though over 60, had always been in good health. How could this have happened? "Let's go," my father said, getting up immediately. In the hallway of the hospital's VIP wing, Lucy was sobbing uncontrollably, and my mother-in-law was sitting on a bench with a blank stare. When she saw us, Lucy ran toward me to hit me. "It's your fault! You did this to my father!" My father stopped her. "Lucy, calm down." "How can I calm down?" she screamed hysterically. "My father collapsed when he saw the news from the press conference. The doctor says if he survives, he could be paralyzed. Sophia, are you happy now?" I stood there, unable to say anything. I hated the Vargas family, but I had never wished for my father-in-law's death. At that moment, the operating room door opened, and a doctor came out. "The patient is out of danger, but the next 48 hours are critical." My mother-in-law finally reacted. She got up, staggering, and suddenly knelt before me. "Sophia, please, forgive us. My husband is like this, and Alex is on the verge of madness. Please," she pleaded. I rushed to help her up. "Mother-in-law, please don't do this." She wouldn't let go of me. "I know Alex was wrong, I admit it. Look, he has already signed the divorce. Please be lenient and don't go on with this." I didn't know how to respond. At that moment, we heard hurried footsteps in the hallway. It was Alex. When he saw me, he stopped dead in his tracks. "Mom, how's Dad?" He ran to his mother's side. "He's stable," she said, wiping her tears. "Alex, quickly, apologize to Sophia." Alex turned to me. His gaze was complex. Finally, he lowered his head. "Sophia, I'm sorry. I really am. Please, forgive my family." Seeing the arrogant Alex Vargas bowing his head and asking for forgiveness should have made me feel satisfied, but instead, I felt a strange bitterness. Just as I was about to speak, his phone rang. He saw who was calling, and his expression subtly changed. "I have to take this call." He went to a corner of the hallway, his back to us, and spoke in a low voice. Instinctively, I followed him silently. "Mr. Moreno, I did what you asked. She's here. Yes, I understand. But what you promised me," his voice was extremely low. "Don't worry. I'll make sure she doesn't continue the investigation. The lawyers have already prepared the counterclaim." I felt as if I had been struck by lightning. Alex's apology was a sham. He was still conspiring with Moreno to fight back. I went back to my spot in silence. My last doubt had been dispelled. "Alex, I gave you a chance." "Mother-in-law," I turned to her. "Take good care of father-in-law. I'll come back to visit." As soon as I left the hospital, I called Elaine. "Get Valerie ready to testify and prepare the lawsuit against Moreno and Alex for corporate fraud." "Are you sure?" Elaine asked, surprised. "What about your father?" "I'll take care of that," I said firmly. "This time, I'll make sure they don't get back up again." 4 days after my father-in-law's hospitalization, Vargas Construction convened an emergency board meeting. As a shareholder with a 15% stake, I attended without prior notice. The moment I opened the door to the boardroom, all eyes were on me. Alex, sitting in the chairman's seat, was livid and was nearly breaking the pen he was holding. "Sophia," he said through gritted teeth, "you shouldn't be here." I smiled slightly and took an empty seat. "Mr. Vargas, according to the company's bylaws, any shareholder with more than a 10% stake has the right to attend all meetings. I currently own 15% of Vargas Construction. Should I be here or not?" There was a murmur in the room. Alex jumped up. "Impossible! Where did you get those shares?" I didn't answer. I looked toward the door. My father's special assistant, Mr. Henderson, came in and placed a folder on the table. "Gentlemen, yesterday the Blackwood Group acquired the entirety of Chase Bank's stake in Vargas Construction, a total of 15%. This is the share certificate." Alex snatched the papers. His eyes were almost popping out of their sockets. "No, it can't be. The Chase director promised to sell them to you, didn't he?" I continued. "Too bad I offered a higher price. In fact, I had to pay 30% above the market value to snatch them from Moreno, but it was worth it because it was the largest individual stake in Vargas Construction after the Vargas families." I addressed the board members. "Gentlemen, given the recent fall in Vargas Construction stock, the withdrawal of bank loans, and the liquidity crisis, I propose the dismissal of Alex Vargas as chairman and CEO and that an independent director take on the role on an interim basis." "Nonsense!" Alex slammed the table. "I built Vargas Construction with my own hands." "You're mistaken," I corrected him calmly. "Your father built Vargas Construction, and you almost ruined it." I opened a file in front of me. "In the last 3 years, he has embezzled $20 million, falsified accounts, and inflated project costs. This has caused the company—" "Stop!" Alex interrupted me hysterically. "That's all slander." "Whether it's slander or not, the audit will tell." I looked at the other board members. "Gentlemen, let's vote." The result of the vote was predictable. Alex was dismissed on the spot. 2 security guards escorted him out of the room. Through the glass, I saw him kicking the hallway wall like a madman before they took him away. Miss Blackwood, the newly appointed interim chairman, Mr. Fuentes, asked cautiously, "Any advice on how to overcome this crisis?" I closed the file. 2 things. First, The Blackwood Group is willing to offer a short-term loan of $30 million at an annual interest rate of 8%. Second, my father is willing to personally acquire an additional 10% of the new Vargas Construction shares. The room murmured again. If both conditions were met, the Blackwood Group would come to own at least 25% of Vargas Construction, becoming the de facto majority shareholder. That would require a general shareholders' meeting, Mr. Fuentes said, wiping sweat from his forehead. Of course, I stood up. I await your good news. As I left the Vargas Construction building, the early summer sun was blinding. My phone vibrated. It was a message from Elaine. Valerie has agreed to testify, but she wants to see you first. I replied, arrange it for tonight. Just as I put away my phone, I heard a familiar voice behind me. Sophia. I turned. It was Lucy. Far from her usual glamorous appearance, she wore no makeup today. Her eyes were swollen, and she had a hospital bracelet on her wrist. What do you want? I asked coldly. Lucy bit her lip and then suddenly gave me a deep bow. I'm sorry. I didn't help her up. I watched her performance in silence. I know it's too late to apologize. She straightened up, her eyes full of tears. But I understand everything now. My father in the hospital, my brother obsessed with getting revenge on you, the company on the verge of bankruptcy. It's all my fault. Get to the point, I cut her off. Lucy wiped her tears. I know some things about my brother and Moreno. Maybe they can be of some use to you. I raised an eyebrow. Oh, really? They don't just want the new Manhattan North project. She lowered her voice. Moreno wants to use my brother to take control of the entire Blackwood Group. My heart skipped a beat, but I maintained my composure. Go on. I heard them talking, she said, looking around nervously. Moreno said that what happened 20 years ago was just the beginning, that he was going to completely destroy your father's reputation. I narrowed my eyes. And why are you telling me this? Tears welled up again. Because I'm scared. My brother has gone crazy. He doesn't even care about my father's life anymore. Sophia, I just want to protect my parents. I studied her swollen eyes and trembling hands, weighing the truthfulness of her words. Finally, I gave her one of my business cards. If you remember anything else, call me. Lucy took the card as if it were a treasure, bowed again, and left in a hurry. Watching her walk away, I thought, if what she said was true, Moreno's goal from the beginning wasn't the project, but the entire Blackwood Group, and Alex was just a pawn in his hands. While I was thinking, my phone rang again. It was my father. Sophia, get back to the office immediately. His voice was very urgent. Moreno has started buying our shares. A chill ran through me. How many? He's already past 5%, and he's still buying. My father's voice sounded hoarse. He's manipulating the market. Our stocks have already gone up 15%. I'm on my way. In the boardroom of the Blackwood Group headquarters, the atmosphere was tense. My father and several key executives were gathered around a giant screen that showed real-time stock prices and trading data. Moreno is buying through 3 shell companies, the CFO pointed out. He already controls 5.3% and has spent at least $1 billion. Where did he get so much cash? I frowned. My father gave a bitter smile. He has allied with Temasek from Singapore and Blackstone from the United States. It's a joint operation. I held my breath. Temasek and Blackstone were global investment giants. If they were involved, activate the poison pill. I made a quick decision. The poison pill was a hostile takeover defense strategy that consisted of issuing new shares to dilute the buyer's stake. There's no time, my father shook his head. We need at least 3 days for the board to approve it. And the white knight? I looked at the president of the pension fund, an old friend of my father's. He shook his head. The government's new regulation makes it difficult for us. Public funds cannot intervene in private company disputes. The room fell into silence. Moreno's offensive was much more ferocious than we had anticipated. At this rate, in less than 3 days, he would control more than 10% of the Blackwood Group, becoming the largest shareholder. Dad, I had a question. Why is Moreno so obsessed with the Blackwood Group? Is it just about the competition? My father's face subtly changed. He didn't answer. It's because of the mine accident, isn't it? I insisted. My father sighed deeply. It's not just that. Moreno and I have an old grudge. It turned out that 20 years ago, after the accident, my father broke his partnership with Moreno. My father moved to New York to start over, and Moreno stayed in West Virginia. Later, Moreno's operating license was revoked due to repeated accidents, and he always believed that my father was behind it. So this is a revenge story, I understood. My father nodded. He's been waiting 20 years for this moment. I clenched my fists. All the more reason we can't give up. Gentlemen, I turned to the executives. I have an idea. 2 hours later, the Blackwood Group issued a statement. It would spin off its most profitable asset, the new Manhattan North project, into an independent subsidiary and seek strategic investors. This meant that even if Moreno took control of the group, he wouldn't get its crown jewel. After the announcement, the group's shares fell 8%. The cost of acquisition for Moreno skyrocketed. Well thought out, my father said, nodding in approval. But this is just to buy us time. I thought to myself, if only I could find a weak spot for Moreno. At that moment, Elaine called. Sophia, bad news. Valerie has disappeared. What? My heart skipped a beat. How? She was on her way to meet you tonight. A car cut her off. Some men in black took her. Elaine's voice was urgent. My men say they had guns. They couldn't do anything. A terrible idea crossed my mind. Moreno or Alex? We checked the cameras, but the car had a fake license plate, Elaine added. I immediately called Lucy. Where is your brother? No, I don't know. Her voice trembled. He hasn't been to the hospital since last night. Sophia, what's wrong? I hung up without answering. If Valerie fell into the hands of Moreno or Alex, the consequences would be dire. Dad, I have to find Valerie. I turned to him. She's the key witness. Just as my father was about to speak, his secretary ran in. Sir, it's terrible. NBC News just reported that you were involved in the cover-up of the mine accident in West Virginia 20 years ago, where 7 miners died. The DA has already asked us for an explanation. My father's face turned ashen, and he slumped into his chair. I opened my phone. The most searched headline was, Blackwood Group President covers up mine accident. The news not only detailed the accident, but also published the list of covered-up victims and testimonies from their families. And the worst part, in less than 10 minutes, the Blackwood Group's shares plummeted 12%, activating a trading halt. Moreno, my father mumbled. He wants to destroy me. I grabbed his trembling hand. Dad, calm down. We'll publish a statement saying it's slander and that we're investigating. It's useless. He gave a bitter smile. If he dared to publish it, it means he has proof. My phone rang again. Unknown number. Sophia. It was Moreno's grave voice. Do you think you can sink me just by taking pictures of my papers? A chill ran through me. How did he find out so fast? Your father killed 7 people 20 years ago. He laughed coldly. What do you think the press will say when they find out he also killed his own brother? What? I felt as if I had been struck by lightning. What nonsense are you talking about? Ask your father. And he hung up. I stood there, my mind blank. My father's brother. I had never heard of him. What's wrong? Elaine asked. I shook my head and called my father. Dad, Moreno just called. He said you killed your own brother. What does that mean? There was a long silence. Finally, I heard my father's voice, old and tired. Sophia, there are things that it's time for me to tell you. The air in my father's study was thick. With trembling hands, he took an old photo album from his safe. He opened a page and pointed to a black and white photo of 2 smiling young men in front of a mine. The one on the left was clearly my father. The one on the right was almost his exact replica. That's my brother, Javier Blackwood, my father said with a broken voice. 2 years younger than me. He was impulsive, passionate, loyal. I never knew I had an uncle, I said, a lump in my throat. In the mine accident, he closed his eyes. I was Moreno's partner, and Javier was a foreman. On the day of the accident, he was off work, but he was the first to go in to rescue his colleagues. He pulled out 5 miners before the tunnel collapsed a second time. He and 7 other miners were buried. Moreno was in charge of safety. My father clenched his fists. To evade his responsibility, he bribed officials and covered up the real number of deaths. He had Javier and 2 other miners listed as missing. I felt frozen. So that's why Moreno said my father killed his brother, and you did nothing to clear his name. Tears rolled down my father's cheeks. The Blackwood group was just getting started. I was a coward. I hugged him. I felt devastated. That was the real reason for Moreno's revenge. Dad, it wasn't your fault. I wiped his tears. But now we're going to get justice for Uncle Javier. My father raised his head. What do you plan to do? The press conference is still on, I said firmly. We will not only expose Moreno's crimes, but also tell the truth about the accident. But Sophia, Javier's honor. Uncle Javier was a hero. I grabbed his hand. He saved 5 people. He deserves to be remembered, not forgotten. My father was silent and finally nodded. I went out and called Elaine. Can Valerie attend the press conference? The doctor says yes, but in a wheelchair. Elaine paused. Sophia, breaking news. Moreno is moving his assets. It looks like he's preparing to leave. A chill ran through me. Move the press conference to 3 this afternoon. We can't wait any longer. Will we have time? We have to. I gritted my teeth. Did you contact the police? Yes, but they need more evidence to arrest him. I smiled coldly. Then we'll give it to them. At 2 in the afternoon, the auditorium of the New York Convention Center was packed. In the waiting room, Valerie, pale but determined, waited in her wheelchair. Ready? I asked her. She nodded. Sophia, I'm sorry and thank you. Today, your new life begins, I told her. My father came over, impeccable but exhausted. Everything's ready. I looked at my watch. Any news on Moreno? He's booked a flight to Singapore for tonight, Elaine said. You're not getting away, I thought. The police are waiting outside, but they need concrete evidence. I nodded and took out a flash drive. Everything is here. Bribes, money laundering, market manipulation, and a recording of Moreno's plan to sink us. A recording? Elaine's eyes widened. From last night, I smiled. Alex gave it to me. He woke up and confessed that he had recorded several of his conversations with Moreno. My father held his breath. Alex helped us. To get a reduced sentence, I said. He'll be out of bed to testify at the press conference. At 2:50, they told us to begin. I took a deep breath and went up to the podium. Thank you for your attendance, I said bluntly. Today, I am going to reveal a massive corporate conspiracy and the truth about a mine accident that was covered up for 20 years. The auditorium fell silent. I pressed the remote control. On the screen, a transcription of a conversation between Moreno and Alex appeared. In the New Manhattan Northlands, there's a rare earth deposit. It's worth at least $20 billion. Get Alex to get close to Sophia, no matter what. The audience murmured. I continued to present evidence. Moreno's accounting book, the money laundering flow charts, the records of stock manipulation. Finally, my voice breaking, I played a special recording. In it, Moreno said with smugness, Javier Blackwood, that idiot, risked his life for a few miners, and his brother is an even bigger idiot, letting his brother's memory be tarnished to protect his company. The auditorium erupted. My father was crying beside me. Mr. Moreno, I looked at the camera. You have not only committed corporate crimes, but you have also covered up the truth of an accident that cost 8 lives, including that of my Uncle Javier Blackwood, a hero whom you turned into a missing person. I gave a signal. The back door opened. 2 police officers were escorting Alex. Alex Vargas will testify as a protected witness against Richard Moreno, I announced. Alex concisely recounted how Moreno had ordered him to get close to me, steal secrets, and forge documents. Finally, Valerie went up to the stage and told her story as an industrial spy, her kidnapping, and the threats. With this evidence, I said, returning to the center, I formally accuse Richard Moreno of bribery, money laundering, corporate fraud, and kidnapping, and I demand that the investigation of the West Virginia mine accident be reopened to restore the honor of the victims. At that moment, the back door burst open. It was Moreno, flanked by 2 bodyguards. "Lies!" he screamed. "Sophia, you falsified the evidence to incriminate me!" I smiled coldly and pressed the remote control. On the screen, a video appeared of Moreno meeting with the SEC deputy director, counting stacks of bills. "This video was recorded last night at your private club," I looked at him. "Want me to show more?" Moreno's face turned ashen. He tried to flee, but the police stopped him. "Richard Moreno," the inspector said, showing a warrant, "you are under arrest for multiple economic crimes." When the handcuffs were clicked shut, the auditorium erupted in applause. As they were taking him away, Moreno looked at me with a deep hatred. The press conference ended. My father and I convened an emergency meeting to stabilize the stocks. The police searched Moreno's properties, finding overwhelming evidence. A week later, Valerie was sent abroad under protection. Alex, for his cooperation, was sentenced to 3 years in prison. Vargas Construction declared bankruptcy. Lucy went from being a rich girl to an office worker at a small company. Moreno was charged with 12 crimes with an involved amount of $3 billion. And most importantly, a special investigative commission was created to reopen the mine case. A month later, my father and I traveled to West Virginia. At the site of the accident, we erected a monument in honor of my Uncle Javier and the other victims. "Javier, I'm sorry," my father cried, caressing the engraved name. "I was finally able to get justice for you." I left a bouquet of flowers at the foot of the monument. The mountain wind blew like a reply from the afterlife. A year later, under my direction, the Blackwood Group not only overcame the crisis, but also absorbed the key assets of Moreno and Vargas Construction, doubling its market value. I created a foundation to help victims of industrial espionage with Valerie as one of its collaborators. Elaine's law firm became one of the most prestigious in New York. Alex got a reduced sentence for good behavior. The day before he was released, he sent me a letter through Elaine. In it, he detailed his regret. It ended by saying, "I'm not asking for your forgiveness, just that you know that I'm truly sorry if there were another life." I didn't reply, but I told Elaine to offer him a job at the foundation. "Are you sure?" Elaine asked, incredulous. "After everything he did to you?" "Everyone makes mistakes." I looked out the window. "The important thing is to know how to get back up." Elaine shook her head. "You've changed, Sophia. You never would have forgiven a betrayal before." I smiled. Yes, I had changed. All of it had made me grow. Hatred only brings pain. Forgiveness, perhaps, opens up new possibilities. My phone rang. It was my father. "Sophia, the ribbon-cutting ceremony for the new Manhattan North project is about to begin. Where are you?" "I'm on my way." I grabbed my purse and left the office. The sun was shining, and the air smelled of spring. I took a deep breath and walked with a firm step toward my new life.